Let's be honest about something most real estate videos dance around. When people say, just buy a house, they're usually talking about a world that doesn't exist anymore. In 2026, a $500,000 home is not a luxury mansion in many places. It's a regular average house. And yet the monthly payment on that average house looks more like a private school tuition bill. Between higher interest rates than the 2010s, insurance costs that keep creeping up, property taxes, and the fact that wages did not magically double, the math feels punishing. This is why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and still falling behind. The uncomfortable truth is that homeownership at this price point is no longer about working hard and saving diligently. It's about structure. It's about timing. It's about leverage, family help, and sometimes flat-out privilege. When you run the numbers on a $500,000 house in 2026 with a normal down payment and a realistic mortgage rate, you quickly realize that most households simply don't cash flow it without making big trade-offs somewhere else in life. So instead of pretending everyone can afford this, let's get real. Who actually can buy a $500,000 house in 2026 without living paycheck to paycheck or one emergency away from disaster? There are only a few paths that truly work. None of them are easy. Some of them aren't fair, but they are real. Here are 5 ways people are actually pulling it off. Way 1, the high-income dual-earner household. The most straightforward path is also the least relatable for most people. 2 high earners with stable, well-paid jobs. We're talking combined household incomes that comfortably clear the mid-6 figures. At that level, the mortgage payment, even when it's painfully large, stays under a manageable percentage of take-home pay. These households can still save, still invest, and still absorb surprises like tax increases or insurance hikes. The key here is not just income, but predictability. Salary professionals, specialized tech roles, healthcare, law, and senior corporate positions dominate this group. Without 2 strong incomes or one truly exceptional one, the math rarely works cleanly. Way 2, buyers with a massive down payment. Some people afford a $500,000 house not because the house is affordable, but because the loan is much smaller than it looks. A down payment of 30, 40, or even 50% changes everything. It slashes the monthly payment, reduces interest paid over time, and often eliminates mortgage insurance entirely. These buyers usually didn't save that money from scratch in the last 5 years. It came from selling another property, long-term investing during a strong market run. This group doesn't talk loudly about how they did it, but the balance sheet tells the story. Way 3, equity traders who bought earlier. One of the most common but least acknowledged paths is simple timing. People who bought a smaller or cheaper home years ago and watched it appreciate are now trading equity for space or location. They're not starting at zero. They're rolling hundreds of thousands of dollars from one property into the next. On paper, they bought a $500,000 house in 2026, but functionally, they're financing far less than that. This is why first-time buyers feel like they're competing in an entirely different sport. They are. Way 4, family-assisted buyers. This category makes people uncomfortable, but it's increasingly common. Gifts for down payments, early inheritances, parents co-signing, or outright buying part of the house. In 2026, family money is one of the biggest dividing lines in housing access. These buyers may have solid incomes, but without help, they would be locked out or severely stretched. With help, the deal suddenly works. This isn't about laziness or entitlement. It's about math. And the math favors those with a financial safety net behind them. Way 5, people willing to be extremely house poor. Finally, there are buyers who technically afford a 5, but only by sacrificing almost everything else. Retirement contributions are minimal, travel disappears, emergency savings are thin. Every raise goes straight to the mortgage. These buyers are betting on future income growth, refinancing opportunities, or long-term appreciation to justify the pain. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This path carries the highest stress and the highest risk, but it's more common than anyone wants to admit, especially in high-cost areas where renting feels just as expensive. Conclusion: here's the part no one wants to say out loud. A $500,000 house in 2026 is not a middle-class milestone. It's a financial fork in the road. For some people, it's a manageable step built on income, equity, or support. For others, it's a stretch that reshapes their entire life. And for many, it's simply out of reach, no matter how responsibly they budget or how hard they work. This isn't a personal failure, it's a structural reality. Housing prices, financing costs, and wage growth have drifted so far out of alignment that the traditional advice no longer applies. Telling everyone to just buy a house ignores the fact that the system now rewards timing, assets, and access far more than effort alone. If you're watching this and feeling frustrated, that reaction makes sense. The math is brutal because it's supposed to be. It filters people out. The real power move in 2026 is not forcing yourself into a number that makes your life miserable. It's understanding which lane you're in, what trade-offs you're actually making, and whether owning that specific house at that specific price truly serves your long-term freedom. If this breakdown helped you see the situation more clearly, let me know. And if you want to follow up on what smart alternatives to buying look like right now, that's a conversation worth having.